Hey everybody, I think it's day 13 from Dane's help yesterday. Today is also Breonna Taylor's birthday. So I would like to challenge you. I've posted, I believe, both on Instagram and Twitter, numbers that you can call to demand justice for Breonna Taylor. So she should be alive today. I think she would be 27 today. So I challenge, and I don't know if challenge is right. I implore you to take the steps today to honor Breonna Taylor, to remember her name, to say her name, to demand justice for her deaths, and continue the good work that you have, or begin good work that you haven't been doing, to demand justice for Breonna Taylor and for all of the other Black Americans and non-Americans who are killed and profiled, racially profiled, I guess. Do better work for yourself. Do better work for your family. Watch and listen to Black voices. Amplify them. Stand by them. And do what they tell you to do, to be active. I'm really, really conflicted about reading right now. And I think I'm going to do it today. I won't be in tomorrow, as I've already said. I will continue with, I think it's chapter 9 today. So I'll continue with chapter, I think we start a new volume the next time I see you. But continue to be active. There are great YouTube links that will donate. I think if you type stream to list to donate in the search bar right after you do this, and leave that on and listen to it. Or if you can't listen to it right now, put your earbuds in. I think you need to not be on mute in order for your ad views to count while you do other things, but just make sure that you're using your power and your privilege in a way that is helpful to the Black community. So yesterday in Frankenstein, what happened? Yes. So he went to the family and he proclaimed himself, and they, of course, rightly freaked out and ran off. And so he goes into the woods. He's deeply, deeply upset, and he goes back to the house to look for them. And he's waiting for them to wake up, and then they don't wake up. And he's like, what's going on? So he enters the house further. No, he doesn't. He waits, and eventually Felix comes by, and he's with his landlord. And the landlord's like, you shouldn't end your lease, essentially. Don't end your lease. You're going to lose money. And Felix is like, we don't care if we lose money. We are leaving. We are gonzo bonzo. So Frankenstein, or the monster, the creature, is of course very, very upset by that. And he ends up burning the house down in his rage. So he burns the house down, and he's still upset. These are people that he came to trust and to love. And so he figures out that his creator, Frankenstein Sr., Frankenstein Sr. and Frankenstein Jr., is that what we're going to go with? So Frankenstein Jr. decides to go to Geneva to seek out his creator. Sorry, I'm scatterbrained. He goes to Geneva to seek out his creator. He meets a woman. I'm sorry. I'm like, my parents are talking in another room, and I'm like, I can't like compartmentalize. Okay, so he's walking to Geneva. He sees this little girl fall into a river. He's like, yo, I gotta save this girl. He pulls the girl out of the water. The girl's, of course, freaking out. Her parent comes by, freaking out, and like shoots him as he like runs off with his daughter. So Frankenstein is, of course, again incensed. He's like, yo, like, just because I'm ugly doesn't mean you can shoot me. So he continues on his way, and then he runs into baby Frankenstein, Frankenstein's youngest sibling. And I think his reasoning was, I'm going to take this kid. He is young, he is impressionable. I can teach him that I'm okay. And then he can help the world accept me. Except he is a child, and he freaks out when Frankenstein picks him up, is like losing his mind. And in his rage, Frankenstein knowingly elects, not Frankenstein, sorry, the creature knowingly elects to kill the child. And that brings us to where we left off. No, never mind. Big ask here. That brings us to, in that point, he runs off into the mountains where he meets Frankenstein Sr. And he says to Frankenstein Sr., nobody's in your little stupid human world is gonna love me. So you need to create me a companion that looks like me. Because if they look like me, then they can't be horrified by me. So I need a friend, essentially. And he orders Frankenstein to create that friend. So let's see what happens. Frankenstein, Volume 2, Chapter 9. The being finished speaking and fixed his looks upon me in expectation of a reply. But I was bewildered, perplexed, and unable to arrange my ideas sufficiently to understand the full extent of his proposition. He continued, you must create a female for me with whom I can live in the interchange of those sympathies necessary for my being. This you alone can do, and I demand it of you as a right which you must not refuse. The latter part of his tale had kindled anew in me the anger that had died away while he narrated his peaceful life among the cottagers, and as he said this, I could no longer suppress the rage that burned within me. I do refuse it, I replied, and no torture shall ever extort a consent from me. You may render me the most miserable of men, but you shall never make me base in my own eyes. Shall I create another like yourself, whose joint wickedness might desolate the world? Be gone, I have answered you. You may torture me, but I will never consent. But as we know, Frankenstein does, because he cannot keep to his word. You are in the wrong, replied the fiend. And instead of threatening, I am content to reason with you. I am malicious because I am miserable. Am I not shunned and hated by all mankind? You, my creator, would tear me to pieces and triumph. Remember that, and tell me why I should pity man more than he pities me. You would not call it murder if you could precipitate me into one of those ice rifts and destroy my frame, the work of your own hands. Shall I respect man when he contemns me? Let him live with me in the interchange of kindness, and instead of injury, I would bestow every benefit upon him with tears of gratitude at his acceptance. But that cannot be. The human senses are insurmountable barriers to our union. Yet mine shall not be the submission of abject slavery. I will revenge my injuries. If I cannot inspire love, I will cause fear, and chiefly towards you, my arch enemy, because my creator, do I swear inextinguishable hatred. Have care, I will work at your destruction, nor finish until I desolate your heart, so that you curse the hour of your birth. A fiendish rage animated him as he said this. His face was wrinkled into contortions too horrible for human eyes to behold, but presently he calmed himself and proceeded. I intend to reason. This passion is detrimental to me, for you do not reflect that you are the cause of its excess. If any being feels emotions of benevolence towards me, I should return them 100 and 100-fold. For that one creature's sake, I would make peace with the whole kind. But I now indulge in dreams of bliss that cannot be realized. What I ask of you is reasonable and moderate. I demand a creature of another sex, but as hideous as myself. The gratification is small, but it is all that I can receive, and it shall content me. It is true we shall be monsters, cut off from all the world, but on that account we shall be more attached to one another. Our lives will not be happy, but they will be harmless, and free from the misery I now feel. Oh, my Creator, make me happy. Let me feel gratitude towards you for one benefit. Let me see that I excite the sympathy of some existing thing. Do not deny me my request. I was moved. I shuddered when I thought of the possible consequences of my consent, but I felt that there was some justice in his argument. His tale and the feelings he now expressed proved him to be a creature of fine sensations, and did I not, as his maker, owe him all the portion of happiness that it was in my power to bestow? He saw my change of feeling and continued, "If you consent, neither you nor any other human being shall ever see us again. I will go to the vast wilds of South America. My food is not that of man. I do not destroy the lamb and the kid to glut my appetite. Acorns and berries afford me sufficient nourishment." He's vegan. He's a vegan king. "My companion will be of the same nature as myself, and will be content with the same fare. We shall make our bed of dried leaves. The sun will shine on us as on man, and will ripen our food. The picture I present to you is peaceful and human, and you must feel that you could deny it only in the wantonness of power and cruelty. Pitiless as you have been towards me, I now see compassion in your eyes. Let me seize the favorable moment and persuade you to promise what I so ardently desire." I don't know about that comment, Dane. Let's I don't know. Let's reassess together. Okay. "You propose," replied I, "to fly from the habitations of man, to dwell in those wilds where the beasts of the field will be your only companions. How can you, who long for the love and sympathy of man, persevere in this exile? You will return and again seek their kindness, and you will..." This is Frankenstein. "And you will meet with their detestation." How much time? I don't know if I can do this. "With their detestation, your evil passions will be renewed, and you will then have a companion to aid you in the task of destruction. This may not be. Cease to argue the point, for I cannot consent." How inconsistent are your feelings! But a moment ago you are moved by my representations, and why do you again harden yourself to my complaints? I swear to you by the earth which I inhabit, and by you that made me, that with the companion you bestow, I will quit the neighborhood of man, and dwell, as it may chance, in the most savage of places. My evil passions will have fled, and I shall meet with sympathy. My life will flow quietly away, and in my dying moments I shall not curse my Maker. His words had a strange effect upon me. I compassionated him, and sometimes felt a wish to console him. But when I looked upon him, when I saw the filthy mass that moved and talked, my heart sickened, and my feelings were altered to those of horror and hatred. I tried to stifle these sensations. I thought that as I could not sympathize with him, I had no right to withhold from him the small portion of happiness which was yet in my power to bestow. "You swear," I said, "to be harmless, but have you not already shown a degree of malice that should reasonably make me distrust you? May not even this be a feint that will increase your triumph by affording a wider scope for your revenge?" "How is this? I thought I had bestowed your compassion, and yet you still refuse to bestow on me the only benefit that can soften my heart and render me harmless. If I have no ties and no affections, hatred and vice must be my portion. The love of another will destroy the cause of my crimes, and I shall become a thing of whose existence everyone will be ignorant. My vices are the children of a forced solitude that I abhor, and my virtues will necessarily arise when I live in communion with an equal. I shall feel the affections of a sensitive being and become linked to the chain of existence and events from which I am now excluded. I paused some time to reflect on all he had related, and the various arguments which he had employed. I thought of the promise of virtues which he had displayed on the opening of his existence, and the subsequent blight of all kindly feeling by the loathing and scorn which his protectors had manifested towards him. His power and threats were not omitted in my calculations, and hide himself from pursuit among the ridges of inaccessible precipices was a being possessing faculties it would be vain to cope with. After a long pause of reflection, I concluded that the justice due both to him and my fellow creatures demanded of me that I should comply with his request. Turning to him, therefore, I said, I consent to your demand on your solemn oath to quit Europe forever. I don't know, man. And every other place in the neighborhood of man, as soon as I shall deliver into your hands a female who will accompany you in your exile. I swear, he cried, by the sun and by the blue sky of heaven, that if you grant my prayer while they exist, you shall never behold me again. Depart to your home and commence your labors. I shall watch their progress with unutterable anxiety, and fear not but that when you are ready I shall appear. Saying this, he suddenly quitted me, fearful, perhaps, of any change in my sentiments. I saw him descend the mountain with greater speed than the flight of an eagle, and quickly lost him in the undulations of the sea of ice. His tail occupied the whole, excuse me. His tail occupied the whole day, and the sun was upon the verge of the horizon when he departed. I knew that I ought to hasten my descent towards the valley, as I should soon be encompassed in darkness. But my heart was heavy and my steps slow. The labor of winding among the little paths of the mountains and fixing my feet firmly as I advanced perplexed me, occupied as I was by the emotions which the occurrences of the day had produced. Night was far advanced when I came to the halfway resting place and seated myself beside the fountain. The stars shone at intervals as the clouds passed over them, and the dark pines rose before me, and every here and there a broken tree lay on the ground. It was a scene of wonderful solemnity, and stirred strange thoughts within me. I wept bitterly, and clasping my hands in agony, I exclaimed, "O stars and clouds and winds, ye are all about to mock me. If you really pity me, crush sensation and memory. Let me become as naught, but if not, depart. Depart and leave me in darkness." These were wild and miserable thoughts, but I cannot describe to you how the eternal twinkling of the stars weighed upon me, and how I listened to every blast of wind as if it were a dull, ugly siroc on its way to consume me. Morning dawned before I arrived at the village of Chamonix, but my presence, so haggard and strange, hardly calmed the fears of my family, who had waited the whole night in anxious expectation of my return. The following day we returned to Geneva. The intention of my father in coming had been to divert my mind and restore me to my lost tranquillity, but the medicine had been fatal, and, unable to account for the excess of misery I appeared to suffer, he hastened to return home, hoping the quiet and monotony of domestic life would by degrees alleviate my sufferings from whatsoever cause they might spring. For myself, I was passive in all their arrangements, and the gentle affection of my beloved Elizabeth was inadequate to draw me from the depth of my despair. The promise I had made to the daemon weighed upon my mind, like Dante's iron cowl on the heads of the hellish hypocrites. All pleasures of earth and sky passed before me like a dream, and that thought only had to me the reality of life. Can you wonder that sometimes a kind of insanity possessed me, or that I saw continually about me a multitude of filthy animals inflicting on me incessant torture, that often extorted screams and bitter groans? By degrees, however, these feelings became calmed. I entered again into the everyday scene of life, if not with interest, at least with some degree of tranquility. End of volume 2. Whew, okay. Dane, my comment before, I'm not I don't, and then like, I don't know, I'm not an expert. I'm not educated enough to like fully call you out or anything like that. I don't know if the pro basketball player line, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I just felt a little nervous about that one, like towards like political correctness. But again, I'm not the most educated, and like ultimately that's up to you. I don't know. I thought I should say something. I don't know if that was right of me to do. I'm very anxious. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, I knew that you would have never like meant to say something like that, but I thought that it was worth saying something, since we got to be having lots of good conversations with our friends. Okay. Thank you once again for tuning in. It always means the world to me to see you guys, to listen to you guys. Again, I will urge you all to make progressive action today, specifically in regards to Breonna Taylor, who should be celebrating her birthday with her family and friends today. So call the Louisville, I forget where Louisville is, I want to say Kentucky, but that could be so wrong. Call people, thanks Shiv. Call your senator, I don't know the senators, but there are people who will tell you who to call, and I can't verbatim tell you right now. Actually, I can. I realize I have to like write all the little numbers down. So these are, I could only get to, I think, 2 numbers, and that was the number of the Attorney General and maybe the senator and the representative. So here are the numbers that you can call. Again, on my Twitter, there's a really good place that will give you a beautiful script of what to say. So the numbers that you can call to demand justice for Breonna Taylor are 502-696-5300. The senator is 202-224-4343. And the representative is 202-225-5401. I find often that when I call these places, their mailboxes are full, but it is worth a shot. If they're not full, let's make them full. I won't be in tomorrow, as I've said before. Love you guys so much. Continue to make yourselves better and to educate yourselves. And I will hopefully see you Sunday. Stay safe, get snacks, stay active. Love y'all. Goodbye.